Hey guys, I'm Mark from Posh from Sport and welcome to week 6 of the Premier League review. If you are new to this series, what we do is we take a look at the Premier League results from the weekend, we take a look at the Premier League table, and then we finish off with the top goal scorers. So here is a list of the Premier League results from the weekend. If you want to, you can click on a game and you will be taken to the game that you clicked on. But without further ado, let's get into our first game. So we start off with Liverpool versus Hull. In what was a 5-star performance from Liverpool, they managed to absolutely demolish Hull with a masterclass of passing, moving and defending when they had to. It all started in the 17th minute when Adam Lallana gets on the end of a Philippe Coutinho pass after a brilliant off-the-ball run from Lallana, who then turns and places the shot low into the net. That first goal was only the start of Hull's misery day, as 10 minutes later Philippe Coutinho fires a shot following Firmino's cutback and the ball is flying into the net until Ahmed El Mohammadi gets in the way of it with a brilliant save with his arm. And for blocking a 100% certain goal, he gets sent off and leaves Hull with 10 men and Liverpool with a penalty. James Milner steps up to take the penalty and he fires it low and left, and the Hulls go 2-0 up. By 30 minutes into the first half, the game was already over. Liverpool would just be adding to the misery in the 36th minute. Adam Lallana pulls off a beautiful turn inside the box before picking out Sadio Mane, who takes a touch, turns and fires the ball into the bottom corner. Hull would grab a consolation goal in the 51st minute when Robert Snodgrass's corner is met by two players. The ball falls to David Myler, who was able to lash it in. Less than a minute later though, Liverpool would reclaim their 3-goal lead when the little magician Philippe Coutinho scores. It came from when Adam Lallana squares the ball to Coutinho in the middle of the Hull half, who goes around a Hull defender and curls it into the top corner from about 20 yards out. And the final goal for Liverpool came from when Daniel Sturridge is taken down by a swinging leg from Andrew Robertson in the box, and Liverpool get another penalty. James Milner steps up and again goes low and left and gets his second of the game. And a nice stat for you, James Milner has a 100% record from the penalty spot for Liverpool. And the game would end 5-1 for Liverpool, and with that win it means the red side of Liverpool have 4 straight wins in all competitions and 3 league wins in a row. It also means that Hull City have lost by a large margin 2 weeks in a row, last week's 4-1 loss to Arsenal and this week's demolition from Liverpool. And we move on to Sunderland versus Crystal Palace. The game was scrappy for the entire first half, but the game wouldn't see a goal until the 40th minute when Jermaine Defoe is able to capitalise on a Joe Ledley error. It came from when Ledley was about 20 yards out from his own goal and he attempts to play a simple back pass to Damien Delaney. He completely overhits it and Jermaine Defoe latches onto it and pokes the ball past Steve Mandanda. They would double their lead in the 60th minute following a wave of Sunderland attacks, and Crystal Palace couldn't get the ball away for long enough. The goal came from when Jermaine Defoe, after he strikes a well taken shot from 12 yards out, and he got his second of the game. Right from kickoff, however, Crystal Palace go straight on the offensive. The ball is lashed forward and it falls to Joe Ledley, who strikes the ball from 20 yards out. His shot is low and it goes past the keeper via deflection from Patrick Van Arnholt. And this is where it would all fall apart for Sunderland. 50 minutes later, Zeki Friars beats his man on the left wing and sends a cross into the box that James McCarthy gets on the end of and heads home with a powerful header. Crystal Palace would complete the comeback in the 90th minute and they would send Sunderland fans home crying. It came from when Sunderland defender Javier Manguillo needlessly gives away a free kick by the corner flag. Lee Chung-yong floats the ball into the box and Christian Benteke is able to get free of any Sunderland defenders and heads home as Crystal Palace take all 3 points away from the Stadium of Light. This result means Sunderland are still searching for their first win of the season and also means that Crystal Palace have won their last 3 league games. And we move on to Manchester United versus Leicester. After facing a lot of criticism in the week, Wayne Rooney hit back at his critics by saying it was all a load of rubbish. This wouldn't change anything though, as when the team sheets came through, Wayne Rooney was dropped to the bench. And look what happens when you drop Rooney. You beat the reigning champions. The first goal would come for the home side when Daley Blin whips in a corner and United defender Chris Smalling is able to get his head onto it and he puts the hosts 1-0 up. United would go 2-0 up 20 minutes later after a brilliant team goal. It started when Juan Mata passes to Pogba, who chips the ball over to Jesse Lingard and he plays it back to Juan Mata, who takes a touch and scores from about 15 yards out. United would add a third from another corner piece when Juan Mata runs near post and Daley Blin finds him from the corner. Mata drills it into the box for Marcus Rashford to easily tap in. Another player facing a lot of criticism is Paul Pogba. Worth 90 million? Not yet, he isn't. A lot of people were also saying drop Pogba. No, that's not the way to go. If you want to kill his confidence, go ahead and drop him. Give him time to get used to the league and he will flourish in the Premier League. He got himself his first goal in a United shirt and it came from another corner. Daley Blin again plays the ball into the box from the corner. Paul Pogba loses his man and heads in easily. Leicester would get a consolation goal in the 59th minute when Damari Gray has the ball on the left wing. He ball rolls inside his man. He's looking for a pass into the middle, but there's no one there, so he decides to try and curl it into the net, and he succeeds. Brilliant strike from Gray. David Hare had no chance. The game would end 4-1, and without Rooney, Manchester United looked quick in the middle and their passes were world class. And Rooney isn't world class. Hopefully they'll take note of how they played without Rooney, and hopefully England boss Sam Allardyce feels the same, because with Rooney in the England side, England are never going to get far in an international tournament. Also with this result, Leicester have lost 3 games already this season. That's the same amount of losses they had the whole of last season. And we move on to Swansea versus Manchester City. After being suspended for 3 games for elbowing a defender in the face, Sergio Aguero came back into the squad for City's game against Swansea, and 8 minutes into his return he gets back on the score sheet. It came from when Bakary Sagna has tons of room on the right wing. He finds Aguero on the edge of the box, and the Argentine striker takes a touch before striking the ball low and hard past Lucas Fabianski. But a couple of minutes later, Swansea equalise when Fernando Llorente gets his first goal for the Welsh club. It came from when Gylfi Sigurdsson lofts the ball into the penalty area, and Llorente takes advantage of Bakary Sagna slipping. What a strike it was from Llorente. He absolutely smashed it from about 10 yards. He didn't have to hit it as hard as he did, but better safe than sorry, I guess. Swansea were able to keep it 1-1 until 15 minutes into the second half, when they would give away a penalty after debutant Mike van der Horn forearms Kevin De Bruyne in the face. Sergio Aguero steps up and dinks the ball down the middle as Fabianski goes right, and Aguero got his second of the game. Manchester City would put the game to bed when man-in-form Raheem Sterling adds a third. When City do what they've been doing recently as they hit Swansea on the counter-attack, it was 2 attackers to 1 defender as Raheem Sterling and Sergio Aguero are surging forward. A few steps over from Sterling confuses the Swansea defender, and he is able to calmly slot past the Swansea keeper. The game would end 3-1 as Manchester City look like they may win the league by Christmas if they continue at this rate. 6 games, 6 wins, and City are making the Premier League look easy. And we move on to Arsenal versus Chelsea. Remember a few weeks ago when Gary Cahill gave the ball away on the halfway line and Swansea were able to score? Yeah, he did the exact same thing this week. Gary Cahill took too long to play a back pass and ends up fluffing the pass to Alexis Sanchez, who has a clear run on goal. He takes full advantage, running to the edge of the box before calmly chipping it in. Only 2 minutes later, Arsenal would add a second one when Hector Bellerin lays it on a plate to Theo Walcott, who gets himself a goal, and Chelsea were all over the shop. Arsenal would add a third before the half-time break when Mesut Ozil spins away from N'Golo Kante. He then plays it to Alexis Sanchez, who floats the ball back into the far post, and Mesut Ozil volleys it back across goal, and it bounces over Courtois in what was a brilliant finish from the German. And that's how the game would end. This was Arsenal's biggest win over Chelsea since 1997, and their first win over Chelsea in 5 years. And what a difference a few weeks make. A few weeks ago, Chelsea were unbeaten 3 for 3 and looking like the Chelsea of old, and now they are below Crystal Palace in the league. Oh dear. And we move on to West Ham versus Southampton. Considering both of these teams finished 6th and 7th respectively last season, by the shows of the first half they won't be doing that again this year. An incredibly dull first half, and was only brought to life in the 40th minute when Southampton went forward and scored. It came from nice movement from the Southampton side. It started when Dusan Tadic finds Ryan Bertrand overlapping. Bertrand cuts the ball back and Charlie Austin finds the bottom corner with his left foot. This was also the first shot on target for either side. After both sides having a really boring half, the second half would be a little better as West Ham tried to play more attractive football and get forward. Normally the attractive football comes from Dimitri Payet, but he looks a shadow of the player he was last season. Yeah, he scored a free kick against Accrington Stanley midweek, but in this match he wasn't up for it. Southampton would come alive in the second half, however, and they looked like a decent side. And they would double their lead 15 minutes into the second half, and the player who scored their first goal, Charlie Austin, was the man who got the assist for this one. It came from when West Ham's defence were all over the shop, and Charlie Austin plays a tasty through ball to Dusan Tadic, who goes clean through on goal, goes around West Ham keeper Adrian with a drop of the shoulders, and he basically walks it in. Southampton would put the game to bed in the 93rd minute when they added a third after Nathan Redmond is on the left wing. Stephen Davis goes on the underlap and not one West Ham player goes with him. Davis gets into the West Ham box, cuts it back after terrible defending from Angelo Ogbonna, and James Ward-Prowse is free to smash it in to put the final nail in the coffin for West Ham. Yet another big loss for West Ham and another big loss at home. After being tipped to get Europa League football this season, I tell you what, if they continue to play like this, they won't stay in the league. But let's not take anything away from the current form of Southampton. 4 wins in a row now for them in all competitions, and they move into the top half of the table. And we move on to Middlesbrough versus Tottenham. Spurs came out the gate looking strong and only 7 minutes were needed until they got the first goal of the match. It came from when Son Heung-min played a 1-2 with Vincent Janssen. He fake shoots 2 times and fires in low past Victor Valdez. Tottenham would double their lead 15 minutes later when Son Heung-min scores a brilliant solo goal. When he finds himself cornered on the right hand side of the box, he wriggles around the Borough defenders, moves to the edge of the box, turns and curls a shot past Victor Valdez. Spurs would keep their 2-goal lead until the 64th minute when Kyle Walker gives away a free kick. Stuart Downing steps up and puts the ball into the box, and Ben Gibson manages to head the ball down past the reach of Hugo Lloris. And that's how the game would end. Middlesbrough didn't put up much of a fight in the final part of the match, but Tottenham looked nervous whenever Middlesbrough put the ball in the air. This win continues Tottenham's unbeaten start to the season and leaves Middlesbrough 4 games without a win. And moving on to Burnley versus Watford. By the looks of the first 30 minutes, both teams were very happy to take a point away from this match, as there was no real urgency about either of the two teams. But Burnley would take the lead in the 38th minute when a corner was whipped into the box and Jeff Hendrick gets above his man and heads the ball down into the 6-yard box. Sam Vokes nearly got a touch to block it, but he doesn't, and the ball bounces into the net, and this was Jeff Hendrick's first goal for the club. Burnley would add a second in the 50th minute, and it came from yet another corner set piece. Stephen Defoe's corner is headed out, but he is given time and space to whip in another cross, and centre-back Michael Keane is able to rise up and head into the bottom corner. And that is how the game would end. 2 soft goals for Watford to give away, and they didn't look like the side that bullied Manchester United last week. But Burnley utilised their game plan brilliantly and closed any Watford player down instantly, and with that result it takes Burnley on level points with Watford. And we move on to Bournemouth versus Everton. Everton would look to continue their amazing start to the season with a win over struggling Bournemouth. However, in the first 10 minutes, Bournemouth would dominate the game and Everton just couldn't get going. And in the 23rd minute, they got what they deserved when Junior Stanislas strikes a right-footed shot from about 25 yards out, and the ball flies into the top corner, giving Martin Stekelenburg no chance. And that's how the game would end. Pretty silent in the second half. Chances came and went for both sides, but most of them either went high or wide, or were easily saved by both respective goalkeepers. This is Everton's first loss of the Premier League season. And finally, we have Stoke versus West Brom. The game would be pretty quiet for the first 45 minutes and would take until the 70th minute until we got our first bit of action. It came for the home side as Stoke took the lead. It came from when Shaqiri's cross was nodded by Johnny Evans, and Joe Allen is in the right place at the right time and is able to tap the ball in from 6 yards out. West Brom would rescue a point in the 86th minute when West Brom striker Solomon Rondon is able to convert from a corner at the near post. The game would end 1-1 and Stoke players will be kicking themselves for letting their first win of the season pass them by. And West Brom will be praising themselves for hanging on and showing the determination to equalise later on in the game. So that's all the fixtures from this week. Before we go, let's have a look at the table and the top goal scorers. Up first, let's take a look at the Premier League table. So starting off with the top 5, obviously Manchester City are on top with 6 wins out of 6. Tottenham is still unbeaten this season and they are second following this week's win at Middlesbrough. Arsenal are third following 4 wins in a row in the league now for them. They are tied with both the Merseyside teams on 13 points. However, Arsenal's goal difference of 8 puts them in third. Liverpool are fourth with 7 goal difference, and their rivals Everton make up the top 5 with 6 goal difference. Moving on to the bottom 5, Sunderland and Stoke are still yet to win this season. However, Sunderland are dead last with only 1 point and minus 7 goal difference. Stoke are 19th following this week's draw with West Brom, even though they have a devastating minus 11 goal difference. West Ham continue their dismal start to the season with another big loss at home, and that leaves them in the relegation zone with the second worst goal difference in the league with minus 9. Swansea are in 18th following yet another loss, and they haven't won since the opening day of the season. Middlesbrough make up the bottom 5 after a third league loss in a row. Right, so let's move on to the top goal scorers. As you can see, Diego Costa is still on the top despite his Chelsea side being demolished this week from Arsenal. Sergio Aguero and Mikel Antonio are both on 5 goals, with Aguero getting 2 goals in his first game after his suspension. Alexis Sanchez and Raheem Sterling make up the top scorers, both with 4 goals and 2 assists following both of their great starts to the season. Right, so that's all I've got for you this week. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll be back next week for the next episode of the Premier League Review. If you want to follow me on Twitter or subscribe to my personal YouTube channel, the links to both are in the description down below. I've been Mark from Portion of Sport, and I'll see you soon.